Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. Welcome back to my playthrough of Call of Duty World at War, and on today's part, we're going to be finishing up the game, Heart of the Reich and Downfall. I know this is what a lot of people have been waiting for. A lot of people have been waiting for this part, this is also, Downfall is my favorite level in World at War, and it's also my favorite level in a World War II game. And this is probably the best ending in a World War II game that I've ever seen. But let's do it here, Hardened.
The Red Army encircles the Reichstag. Their parliament building and final storm.
There's one historical inaccuracy in this cutscene. Watch when the swastika gets blown up. I'll explain about that. But watch the scene.
Streets, we choke the life from those who will still dare to defend it. It is an honor and a privilege to play a part in this glorious battle. When our flag flies over the city, our enemies' defeat and humiliation will be beyond question.
This part, watch this. See? That.
Our vengeance will be complete.
That scene right there, that one is historically inaccurate to the footage, and I'm gonna explain why in a second here.
You will be.
Okay, so the reason that was historically inaccurate, when you see that giant swastika get blown up, that really did happen, that was real footage, but what's historically inaccurate here is that the Soviets were actually not the ones who blew up that giant swastika that you saw. It was actually the American troops. And this actually happened after Nuremberg, the Nuremberg Stadium was captured. So Nuremberg was that place where Hitler had those giant big rallies. And when the U.S. actually captured it, what they did was they hoisted an American flag over it, and then they actually blew it up later. Here's the footage of that.
Flouts out the swastika. In a symbolic gesture, American troops destroy the Nazi Party emblem.
So, while it was real World War II footage, the one thing I don't like is I don't like how it's included in the Soviet campaign footage. It is a really cool scene with the swastika getting blown up, don't get me wrong, but when you watch those scenes, that's pretty much all footage from the Eastern Front, and you assume that the Soviets were the ones who actually blew up that giant swastika. You see, like, the artillery gunfire, and then you see the swastika just get blown up right after that, but it was actually the U.S. who blew up that swastika right there. But a lot of people from this cutscene in World at War, they actually think that it was the Soviets who did that. So that was just one correction I wanted to make. It was real World War II footage, but it wasn't the Soviets who blew it up. It was the Americans.
Okay, do you hear me? They flooded their own metro in an effort to kill us, Dmitri. But once again, they failed. Once more, we cheat death. You will be okay. Relax for a few minutes. Breathe deeply. Which do you think will lead us home? Writing about this war or fighting it? No one will ever read this! If you lack the stomach to kill for your country, at least show me that you are willing to die for it!
So this is the end of Nazi Germany right here. This is them taking the Reichstag, which is the German Capitol building. And what I will say about this is that the Reichstag, the Battle of the Reichstag, as having this the final battle in World at War, this is the perfect final mission. And the reason that it's the perfect final mission is because the Reichstag symbolizes Hitler's rise to power and also his fall from power. And that's one of the reasons the Nazis, the SS, had tried so hard to defend the Reichstag, because they knew how much of a symbol it meant to them. And if the Soviets take that and they put a flag on that, at that point, all hope for them is lost. But they've already lost the war. The Soviets have won this battle. So basically, on April 29th to April 30th, 1945, the Red Army was approaching the Reichstag. And the Reichstag was surrounded by water. There was bridges that go into it. They crossed the bridge and they started fighting through it. Now, there was heavy fighting around this area, and the background behind the Reichstag. Now, about the Reichstag, what I wanted to say about it, the reason that it symbolizes Hitler's rise to power is because Hitler came to power very differently than like a lot of other dictators do. A lot of other dictators, they come to power for either a civil war or a military coup, but Hitler came to power actually through elections. That's how he came to power. Now, was Hitler elected? Technically, yes, but it's a little bit more complicated, and I'll explain. Hitler in the 1920s had actually tried to overthrow the government in the beer hall push, but he had ended up getting arrested, and he spent a few years in prison. Now, in the after he got out of prison, he began his political career, and he was head of the National Socialist German Workers' Party. That's what the Nazi Party is short for, and he ran in the elections. Now, about the elections, Hitler ran for president of Germany in 1930. I think it was 1932, and he lost the election, and he lost actually significantly to Paul von Hindenburg, who was a World War I veteran and a general from World War I. So Hindenburg ended up defeating Hitler in that election. Now, Hitler was still a big rival in the government at that point, but he wasn't president. And the Nazis did have power. So what ended up happening is the Nazis, there was parliamentary elections in Germany. And in Germany, there were so many different political parties. There was a conservative party, there was a communist party, I think there was like a Catholic party, and then there's the Nazi party. And I think there was also social democrats, yes. So there was like a bunch of different political parties in Germany. And in the 1930s, even though Hitler lost the presidency, in the 1932 parliamentary elections, the Nazis had won tons of seats, and they basically controlled, like, I think it was like 34% of the seats in the government. And so what the Nazis can do at that point is the Nazis can pretty much delay and stall any kind of legislation. So they couldn't necessarily get legislation passed they wanted to, but they could pretty much stall anything that they wanted. They could, and what the Nazis would do is they would constantly walk out of parliament. And when a third of the people walk out of parliament, they can't hold a parliamentary session. And so parliament constantly got held up and was held hostage by the Nazis until they agreed to their demands. And what happened was Hindenburg was getting frustrated with this, and Hindenburg, the conservatives in Germany tried to negotiate with Hitler, but Hitler refused to negotiate with the conservatives. And every single time the conservatives got into any kind of argument with Hitler, Hitler would demand that if you want to make a deal with me, make me chancellor. That's what he would constantly tell the conservatives. And what ended up happening is Hindenburg, because he was pressured by the conservatives, I think Hindenburg's political party was independent, but he leaned more towards the conservatives. But anyways, about Hindenburg was pressured by the conservatives to make Hitler chancellor. And that was because the conservatives were hoping that if Hitler was made chancellor and he agreed to this deal, that they would be able to form a coalition government. But this is one of the worst, mistakes in history, is making Hitler chancellor. So Hitler was not elected chancellor. He was made chancellor by Paul von Hindenburg. He ran for president in 1932. He lost. But then there was parliamentary elections, and the Nazi Party won the most seats in the parliamentary elections. And then afterwards, Hindenburg made Hitler chancellor. So he wasn't necessarily elected the chancellor; he was more appointed the chancellor after the Nazis had a massive victory in the parliamentary elections. And what happened is, after Hitler was appointed chancellor, it was I'm pretty sure it was January 1933. 1 month right after Hitler was appointed, what happened was the Reichstag burnt down. There was the Reichstag 1933 fire, January 1933. Now, the person that was actually blamed for the Reichstag fire was this Dutch communist called Marinus van. I don't remember the last part of his name. I just remember Marinus van was his name. I'll have him up on the screen. But this guy was caught near the Reichstag. And he was known for arsons in other countries, and he was accused of the fire. Now, he admitted to making the fire, and he said that he did it so that the working class could fight back against fascism. And what Hitler did was, Hitler at that point had pressured Hindenburg in order to create the Enabling Act and sign the Enabling Act. So Hindenburg was president, Hitler was chancellor. Now, what was the Enabling Act? The Enabling Act is that infamous law that basically made the Nazis come to power. What the Enabling Act basically did was, it gave the chancellor the power of a dictator. That's what it did. And the Enabling Act allowed the German chancellor to pass any kind of law he wants without the president or the parliament's approval. And so this was right after the Reichstag fire, and so the German public was furious the Reichstag had been burnt down, and Hitler basically used this to crack down on the Social Democrats and the Communists, and would accuse all of them of being complicit in this fire. Now, Communists are scumbags, but there's no proof, really, that they were the ones who did the fire. Yes, the guy got caught near the place where it happened, but there was no proof that he had done it. So, like, historians debate whether Marinus was actually the one who set the fire. He was near there, he admitted to doing it, but there's not 100% proof that he did it. And when you really think about it, isn't this convenient for Hitler that 1 month after he becomes chancellor, the Reichstag burns down, and that basically makes his career at that point, and that makes him really popular with Germany, saying, you know, I'm gonna protect Germany from the communists, and, you know, people overwhelmingly supported him. And after that, Hitler had actually called parliamentary elections as the chancellor, and at that point the Nazis controlled 43% of the seats, so they had nearly half of the seats. They went from having a third to nearly, you know, half of the seats. And one of the things in the Enabling Act, what Hitler did was he outlawed all other political parties, and he basically said they're a threat to national security. And so that's how he ended up becoming dictator, is he basically manipulated the political system and, you know, made himself dictator through that crisis that happened at the Reichstag. And that's why the Reichstag is the perfect final mission here, because it symbolizes Hitler's rise to power and then his fall. And about the Reichstag, even though the Reichstag was burnt down in 1933, it was never really used for parliamentary sessions. Whenever you saw Hitler giving those speeches, he would give speeches at the Kral Opera House, which was actually across the street from the Reichstag. And the Kral Opera House is actually what was converted into a parliamentary building. So the Reichstag was more of a symbol. They didn't really hold parliamentary sessions in there. And I think they actually used it as a hospital, a field hospital, you know, during the Battle of Berlin. I think that's what it was used for. But that's pretty much it. But anyways, let's do the final mission right here. Oh, there's the Katyushka rockets.
Sergeant, take the left flank and eradicate whatever scum remains in defense of each building.
Yes, Commissar. You heard him, comrades! To the left! We are in the final hours of Berlin's downfall. We must all play our part.
Also, this right here, this was very common. German soldiers actually did get hanged from street posts. This actually did happen, and oftentimes they were hanged for either deserting or refusing to fight. And there would be signs that would actually be put on their bodies that would actually say hanged for being a coward. But if anyone speaks German in the comments, and I want to thank my German viewers for translating a lot of what the German soldiers have said. Also, I want to thank my Japanese viewers. You guys have also translated a lot of what the Japanese soldiers have said in this playthrough. If anybody could translate what that paper says that's attached to their bodies, I would really appreciate that. But also, Chernov carrying the flag, make sure you remember what Reznov told him in that part. He said, if you lack the stomach to kill for your country, then at least show me that you are willing to die for it. That's really important.
The Germans hang their cowards from trees. Make sure you keep hold of that flag, Chernov. Keep fire on that building!
So yeah, you see a lot of soldiers that got hung. And the really messed up thing about this is sometimes some of the people that got hung were teenagers, kids, that were drafted into the Volkssturm and they didn't want to fight. Also, Hitler is dead at this point. He killed himself.
Flank the building from both sides! Dmitri, with me! This will not be easy!
Yeah, it's the exact same note on all of them. I'm confused where I just got hit from.
Flank the building from both sides! Dimitri! With me!
There we go, okay. Also, today is the anniversary, the 16th anniversary of World at War, so it's the perfect day, and also Veterans Day, to upload this.
They are not giving up! Fire covers! Keep pushing forward! Through the window! Go! Tanks will help you find another way around.
There's an FG-42 here. Bipod, I'd rather keep the FTPSH.
You wait for the signal! It is almost over! Today is the day of our glorious vengeance. For ourselves. And for Mother Russia. Charge! Take out those positions! The bunkers are heavily fortified! Quick, get the doctor! Underway!
You see those flak guns that are there? There was actually a lot of flak 88s that were actually right outside the Reichstag, so that is historically accurate.
Stop the bleeding! Quick, stop the bleeding! We need to destroy the 88s before our armor can move up! It's not enough! The emplacement must be
You can use the Panzerschreck
charges!
to destroy it.
Find the Panzerschreck! Keep going, Dimitri!
3 remaining, okay.
Remain! Do whatever it takes to blow the bastards to hell! Be ready! Get down! Where are the oncoming fire? He gave his life for Russia! Yes! Nazi troops! I will cover you! Another one destroyed! 2 more remain! Come in! Another grenade! Show no fear, comrades!
Oh, and this is part of the historical accuracy mod. I guess I never picked one up, but FG-42s that had telescopic sights on them, these were real. Crap. This is not easy on Hardened. Also, crap. If you notice one thing about when I'm reloading the FG42, the FG42 came in 2 variants. There was a full auto variant, and then there was also a semi-automatic variant. Oh, crap. Man, this mission is so difficult. Now, about this, the semi-automatic version was a closed bolt, but I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, the automatic version of the FG42 is an open bolt, which means that you're not gonna have to, pull the bolt back when you put a magazine in. Damn, they just don't stop on this mission, yeah. You see a lot of those guys that have, like, the foresty camo on, those guys are SS. Crap.
Show no fear, comrades!
They just don't stop.
Here they come!
Damn. Okay. Ugh. Oh my god, yeah, we gotta push through them. I really hope this isn't an infinite wave, because sometimes in Call of Duty games there's like infinite enemies until you push up. I hope it's not one of those instances. Crap, nah. So when you push up, the tank moves up too with you. Okay, it's just it's just so frustrating. And on veteran, this mission is so difficult because the enemies just keep chucking grenades endlessly at you. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you gotta move up on them. That's the trick. At least tons of PPSHs to find, okay.
Enemy troops approaching! Keep those Nazis off me! Reloading! Dimitri, you are unstoppable! Get to the last 88! All right! More Germans on the move! Get that press on! German infantry approaching! Fighting infantry! I will cover you! Reloading!
What? Crap, I'm getting... There we go. Black 88's down. I doubt the guys on top are gonna respond. Okay.
More Germans! Are you loading? I'm not erwischt! They're coming! Get down! Enemy troops approaching!
And you'll see a lot of the soldiers have, like, bandages on their face and, like, arms because they've been in combat before, so I like that attention to detail. And the historical accuracy mod, you'll see more soldiers with the DP-28 too. Oh, they're falling back, okay. Damn, they're dug in good there.
Watch out! Here they come! Mann am Boden! Mann am Boden! Push them back! Enemy troops approaching!
crap. Okay, hang on. Oh yeah, this is so over. And in this part too, there's actually music that you can actually hear playing in this part. So here's the music that I was telling you guys about. Listen very carefully. There is music that's playing. It's really hard to hear because of all the gunfire, but you can hear it in this part. Listen. Yeah, it's coming from the second floor up here. So basically, the background behind the music, I know it's really hard to hear because of all the gunfire that's going off, but you do hear it in this part, like right when you're coming up the steps of the Reichstag. I think it's coming from this building here. But that song, even though it's only plays for a very short time in here, is actually very important, and it's extremely important attention to detail. Now, a lot of you guys might recognize this is the German victory song in multiplayer, because in multiplayer, when the Wehrmacht win, this is the German victory song that plays. But this song that's actually playing, this song is not originally a Nazi song. It was used heavily by the Nazis, but it's not originally a Nazi song. This is the 1866 Königgrätzer March. And what the Königgrätzer March is, it's basically a military, kind of military march, military song, and it was made after the Battle of Königgrätz. Now, the Battle of Königgrätz was during the Austro-Prussian War, and what happened is the Prussians, they were actually using the Drace needle gun, which is actually the first bolt-action rifle in history. They were extremely advanced, where the Austrians were still using percussion cap muskets. And so the Austrians lined up in formation where the Prussians would actually just go prone on the floor and just fire that bolt-action rifle at them. And the casualties that the Austrians suffered was enormous in that. And so it was like 3 or 4 times more Austrians died in that battle than the Germans or the Prussians did. The Prussians were the largest German state. They were where Berlin was centered also. And so they defeated the Austrians. And this was one of the largest battles in history, is that, both sides had over 200,000 men in one day of fighting. And the Austrians, I think, lost over 10% of all of their soldiers in that battle alone. Now, about this, why is this song actually playing here? Why is this so important, this attention to detail here? So about the Königgrätzer March, this was actually one of Hitler's favorite marching, anthems. And about this is that whenever Hitler did his big rallies, like at Nuremberg and such, this song would actually play, this marching song. And the song, remember what the song was created for. The song was created for a big Prussian-German victory over the Austrians. So it was a giant victory for Prussia. It was a victory song that was playing. It was a mark that they had a giant military victory. But now, why it's playing right here when they're about to have their worst military defeat? Their capital has been completely surrounded, and the Reichstag is about to fall right now to the Soviets. So that's the thing about the song, is that I'm playing the song right now, but that's what's so ironic about the song, is that the song was created to mark a giant, Prussian victory in the Battle of Königgrätz, but it's now being played ironically here with, Nazi Germany's complete downfall. So that's what's so ironic about the song playing, is that it is, it's a victory song to celebrate a big victory, but literally is they're about to suffer their worst military defeat. Okay. When I run out of ammo for the most Nagant, we're pushing. Yep, pushing up the stairs. Okay. That's it, we're out. Okay. Oh, watch this with Chernov now. Watch the flag. Watch the flag.
Dmitri! Someone should read this. Move inside! This is what you came here for! Kill them all! Bomb them to death!
So this right here, this is a, about this, is, I will actually have the scene right before this, and I'll actually play it in slow motion for you guys. But watch Chernov, watch him, and watch what he does with the flag before he encounters the flamethrower trooper. Watch what he does with the flag. You guys saw that right there? He threw the flag away. He knew he was gonna die. But before he died, he wanted to protect the Soviet flag. And so what he did was, he threw the flag away so that it didn't get burned. So he basically sacrificed himself for the flag in the end there. He didn't want the flag to go down with him. And that's what's really messed up about that scene, is that Reznov says, if you lack the stomach to kill for your country, then at least show me that you are willing to die for it. And Chernov was the most moral, Soviet soldier in the campaign, but you basically leave him here and he dies. But in this type of situation, everybody would have shot him. Everybody would have. Americans, Soviets, British, everybody would have killed him just to put him out of his misery, out of his suffering, because he's not going to come back from this, and he's just not suffering. In the original World at War, there was actually a deleted scene where you actually had to shoot Chernov here after he got burned alive, but it got cut because of how dark it was.
The path towards our glorious victory has been a journey of blood and brutality. All of it has been necessary. When the flag of our motherland flies atop the Reichstag, all of Berlin will know that the evil of the fascist Reich has been wiped from the face of the earth.
That's the real assault on the Reichstag at the end there. Listen to Chernov's diary.
April 30th, 1945. When he first spoke of Dmitri, Reznov told tales of a hero. Someone we should all aspire to be like. His bravery on the battlefield is beyond question, but he has also shown mercy amidst the brutality of the Red Army. He is indeed a hero.
Right there.
Steel yourselves, men!
That line right there, that's the good ending. We got the good ending for World at War. Because there's three endings. There's the evil ending, the neutral ending, and the good ending. And basically, to change the ending of what Chernov says in his diary there, he wrote at the end, is that And Reznov said somebody should read this, so perhaps the book gets published one day. We don't know what happened to the book afterwards, his journal. But the journal actually changes, and it depends on a lot of things. For example, in Chernov's diary, in the Stalingrad mission, even though Chernov's not present, when you go to kill General Amsel, if Reznov tells you to hold your fire when your comrades are being shot at, and to use that to wait for General Amsel to show up. But what you can do is you can actually start shooting the enemy, start sniping, and give away your position to protect your allies. Now, if you do that, you will have, German snipers shooting at you and other ones, and you have more enemies to deal with, but you will be protecting your allies. And then Reznov calls you an idiot if you do that. He said, you gave away our position, our allies are going to die anyways, but if you give away your position to protect your allies, then that counts as points towards Chernov's diary that he considers you a hero. The second thing is, when you encounter Chernov the first time, and Reznov says, kill them, and then Chernov's like, there's no point, Sergeant, they're already bleeding to death. If you don't kill the German soldiers that took you prisoner, then that actually counts as points towards the good ending. And if you, and then later on in Ring of Steel, there's a bunch of prisoners of war being executed. If you don't kill any of the prisoners of war in Ring of Steel, and you actually, and then in Eviction, if you don't kill any of the prisoners of war in Eviction, and the ones that are on the street, but then the ones that are in the subway station, the ones that are coming out of the subway surrendering, you have to shoot them, even though they're surrendering. Because if you don't, the Soviet soldiers will burn them alive, and it'll be such a painful, horrible death. So, as messed up as it is, that's the only thing you can do for them so that they're not suffering. So, if you don't kill any of the prisoners of war, and you protect your allies, you get the good ending, where Chernov will say that Dmitri is a true hero. If you kill some of the POWs, but you spare some of the other ones, then what will happen is Chernov will say he sometimes shows mercy, but other times is extreme brutality. I don't understand him. And then if you kill all the POWs and you don't protect your allies, there'll be the evil ending where Chernov will say, he is a true monster, just like the rest of the Red Army. He is no hero. And so Chernov was constantly called a coward by Reznov, but he was the biggest hero out of all of them. He was a moral character. He didn't want to murder prisoners of war, and a lot of German prisoners of war had been murdered by the Soviets when they were going through Germany at this time, especially in the Battle of Berlin. Even, kids were sent to gulags that were in the Volkssturm or possibly even executed too. It was brutal. That's why the Eastern Front was such a horrible, horrible campaign. Not just in the scale, but also just the brutality of it too. But Chernov was that one moral guy, and Reznov said that if you lack the stomach to kill for your country, at least show me that you were willing to die for it. And what did Chernov do? Chernov showed that he was willing to die for it. So he wasn't a coward after all. He sacrificed himself to protect the flag at the end.
For the final push to victory. Today we crush what remains of their fascist life. As heroes, we will return to Russia's embrace. Our land, our people, our blood.
The land needs your final commitment. The SS underground defending this building will fight to their last breath, crush the last remnants of resistance, and this night our flag will fly over the city. We must not falter!
About the attack on the Reichstag, is the Soviets actually managed to get their flag on top of the Reichstag on April 30th, 1945. And what happened was the Reich Chancellery was right behind the I'm pretty sure it was right behind the Reichstag, and the Reich Chancellery was right next to Hitler's bunker. So the Soviets were only a few hundred meters away from Hitler before he killed himself. And the Soviets, when they actually took the roof of the Reichstag, they were still fighting in the lower parts of the building. So they hadn't, even though they took the roof and they planted the flag on top, they hadn't fully secured the building. There was still some fighting inside the building. And that famous picture that you see of the Soviets actually hosting the flag over the Reichstag, that was actually a reenactment done on May 2nd, 1945. It was done 2 days after the original hoisting, once the building was fully secured at that point. They did it for like a picture. And it was one of the most famous pictures of World War II, was that picture there specifically. And as for the soldiers that are inside the Reichstag, you had some Volkssturm, which were civilian militias in here, but you also had a lot of Nazi SS in the in protecting the Reichstag. And these guys were the most fanatical to the Nazi regime. These guys would actually fight to the last man. They would actually fight, they were so fanatical at Hitler, they would fight to the very last man. And a lot of the Nazi SS that are actually inside the Reichstag are actually French. And I know some people are wondering, like, French in the Battle of Berlin? Yes. It's the Charlemagne Division. A lot of these guys were actually inside the Reichstag. And the Charlemagne Division, this is actually a French Nazi collaborators. These were French that were loyal to Hitler and had joined the Nazi SS. And what happened was when France actually fell, they retreated back with the Nazis. So when the Allies had actually taken France, the Americans taken France back, these French Nazis had fallen back with the German Nazis. And so they held up here in the Reichstag. That's where a lot of them ended up here. Now, about the Charlemagne Division. These guys are really dangerous, and the reason these guys are really dangerous in the Reichstag is because these guys had nothing to live for. So they were basically going to fight to the very last man, because if they went back to France, they'd be executed for helping the Nazis as collaborators. And if they surrendered to the Soviets because they're SS, they would get immediately executed. So these guys had nothing to live for. They were extremely fanatical, they were very dangerous and ruthless, and so these guys are going to fight to the very last man. Damn. Ooh, okay. There we go. And you see the Volkssturm patches on their arms to that some of these guys are civilian militias, but others of these guys are SS. I'm pretty sure the blue is the Luftwaffe soldiers. But yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's any bodies with the Charlemagne Division here on it. Because the historical accuracy mod got a lot of the uniforms and the units right that were at the battles. Oh, here we go. Yep. Okay, now you see that giant swastika right there. Now this is, I'm pretty certain this is not what the inside of the Reichstag looked like, because like I said, when the Reichstag was burnt down in 1933, the building was restored, but it was never really used as a parliamentary building. The real building that the Nazis actually used as a parliamentary building was the Kroll Opera House, which that was actually across the street from the Reichstag, but it was already by the time the Soviets were fighting in the Reichstag, they already took the Kroll Opera House, and a lot of it was actually blown up by artillery. But the Kroll Opera, this interior right here, this is based on the inside of the Kroll Opera House. The interior is based on that. And this is the place where Hitler has that famous picture where he declared war on America. And Hitler was really stupid in that instance, because the thing is, though, Japan, when they attacked America as part of the Tri-Pact with, you know, Italy, Germany, and Japan, Germany actually did not have to declare war on America. And a lot of people don't know this, but Germany declared war on America before America declared war on Germany. And so it was like, I think a day after Pearl Harbor, Hitler declared war on the United States. So Germany did not have to declare war on the United States on that, but Hitler was so arrogant and just so overconfident and so narcissistic, and he did not even contact one Wehrmacht general to ask him for advice if he should declare war on America. Would America have declared war on Germany? Still, probably, yeah, but it was really stupid of Hitler to declare war on America when he didn't need to as part of the pact. So this just shows you the narcissism of Hitler and the delusional mind of Hitler, that he just believed that Germany was so superior that they could just defeat everybody, and he got so overconfident with himself. But yeah, that's basically what this building is based on. This interior is based on the Kroll Opera House, with that, where Hitler gave his speeches. I think those guys that are actually wearing blue actually might not be Luftwaffe like I thought. They actually might be the Charlemagne division. I don't know what their uniforms looked like. So, but yeah, there was a lot of French SS that fought inside the Reichstag. Why is it not getting blown up? There we go. Again, you can hear the Königsratzer march here.
Get down! Use the Panzerschreck!
Okay, where is it? Oh, this is gonna be good now. Watch this. There we go. That's just so satisfying, blowing that swastika up. Yeah, I haven't seen that dark blue uniform. I think that might be the Charlemagne division. I would have to look that up later, what their uniforms looked like. You can hear the...
Get those doors open!
You can hear the Konigratz march again here.
Push!
Being held from the other side. I need help.
Oh! Everyone, through the doors!
We must be nearing the roof. Look how far we've come. We should throw these animals over the edge. Sergeant, our comrades from the rear echelon are flooding the building.
Let them feast on our scraps.
So again, this is historically accurate. When they took the roof, there was still... The building wasn't fully secure. They were still fighting in other parts of the building.
Empire will soon beat for the last time. Up there!
This is the part that I know everybody's been waiting for. The soundtrack in this part is amazing. Oh, there it is, the Soviet theme.
Here!
And the music at the end here is so good. We clear?
Keep them away from the flag bearer!
Look at those rockets. There we go. And you see the Nazi flag, how it's different?
Clear a path for the flag!
It's more,
Claim of victory!
it's more historically accurate on that's what the flag actually looked like on top of the Reichstag.
Dimitri!
You can make it, my friend. You always survive.
This is the best part now.
The honor should be yours.
As long as you live, the heart of this army can never be broken.
Things will change, my friend. As heroes, we will return to Russia's embrace.
This is solemn. General Eisenhower informs me that the forces of Germany have surrendered to the United Nations. The victory won in the West must now be won in the East.
You know what that is? That's the Enola Gay. That's the plane that actually dropped the atomic bomb on Japan.
Gathered here, representatives of the major warring powers, to conclude a solemn agreement whereby peace may be restored. It is my earnest hope, and indeed the hope of all mankind, that from this solemn occasion a better world shall emerge out of the blood and carnage of the past. A world founded upon faith and understanding. Of man and the fulfillment of his most cherished wish of freedom, tolerance, and justice.
60 million lives were lost as a result of World War II. It is the most destructive and deadly conflict in human history. Yeah. This is the only video game that I've ever cried at, and I was about to cry there too. It was just that ending is just so sad and just disturbing at the same time too. It's not like a lot of other World War II games where it's just extreme heroics dedicated to the veterans of World War II who sacrificed their lives for the preservation of liberty. Oh, and we have the they put in the modders, Faris, G Combat Warrior, 300. And these are the people who helped make the mod, the historically accurate mod. So they're also included in the credits as well. So these are all the people that help with the mod. But what I was gonna say about World at War is that a lot of other World War II games, they have it where it's like some heroic final, you know, battle. But in this game, it's not that. You take the Reichstag and it's a you know, happy ending there. But then you see the cutscene, which is the atomic bombs, and it just fades to black, and you just hear like those two slides and like that really creepy music that plays. 60 million lives were lost as a result of World War II. It's the deadliest and most, you know, worst conflict in human history. So it's like I said, it's World at War is more of like a horror game. That's what it more of is, instead of like a war game, because it's just, I would say this game captured the brutality of the Eastern Front and the Pacific better than any other World War II game that I've ever seen. Just the brutality in this game, just the horror in it. And when you really think about it, both the Soviet and American endings are sad. Both of them are. In the American ending, Roebuck or Polanski dies, and then in the Soviet ending, while they take the Reichstag, you know what happens to Dmitry and Reznov in Black Ops 1. So nobody really gets a happy ending in this game. Is that both the American and the, you know, Soviet endings are both extremely sad. But I also, guys, on the right side of this video, I have a charity for the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. It's a museum that helps to preserve the the history of the Holocaust, educate people on it, helps a lot of schools with their resources, and it's a museum dedicated to the memories of the people that were murdered, that they aren't forgotten. So if anybody wants to donate to it, it's a charity on the right side. It's a very good charity. Also, guys, I have a historical lore video that I already recorded, but I just haven't edited it. And basically, that scene where Hitler is doing that rant in the Downfall movie, I'm gonna be making a video breaking that scene down. Breaking that scene down, explaining everything that's happening. And what I will say about this, guys, is that one thing that really, one thing that really pisses me off is when I look on the comment section in like a lot of World War II videos, and I see comments of like people saying that the Soviet Union single-handedly won World War II, or people will say the United States won World War II single-handedly. And most of these comments, I see them, are either coming from Americans or Russians. And it's like comments of just bragging about how their country did everything in World War II. And I will say this about that, is that the Soviet Union did not win World War II. The United States did not win World War II. Do you know who won World War II? The Allies did. That's who won World War II. It was a team effort. We had all these sides, and it wasn't just the Soviets and the Americans. You had the British, the French resistance, the Polish resistance, the Czechs, Czechoslovakian resistance. You had the Soviet partisans as well. You had Filipino resistance, the Chinese, the Burmese, Indians. Indians were actually the largest, foreign unit in the British Army, fought in the Pacific and in Europe. And there's just so many people that fought. The Yugoslavians, Serbs, Croats, Slovenes. There was the Yugoslavian resistance was the best resistance of World War II, and they defeated the Nazis. The Yugoslavian resistance was so powerful they kicked the Nazis out of their country, and they were one of the few countries that liberated themselves. And so the list goes on, guys. There's just so many different people that fought in the in World War II, and like I said, it's not the Soviets didn't win, the Americans didn't win, it was the Allies who won. It was a team effort, and without everybody working together, we would have all been screwed. That's the thing about this. I see these, dumb comments of people bragging about how America won World War II all by itself, or the Soviet Union won World War II all by itself, when in reality, we were all helping each other out. I mean, the Soviets helped tremendously in the defeat of Nazi Germany on the Eastern Front, especially with Stalingrad in the Battle of Kursk. But when the US landed in Italy, for example, and opened up the Italian front, that was created as another front to take pressure off the Soviets at the same time too. And and then D-Day took even more pressure off the Soviets as well. At that point, it was just closing in on Germany, and Germany's downfall was coming up. And then in the Pacific, we had a lot of help in the Pacific too. The Australians, the New Zealanders, the British helped us in the Pacific. The Chinese helped tremendously in the Pacific. The Chinese were fighting the Japanese since 1937. But Imperial Japan is the toughest enemy America has ever fought in its history because of the fact that the Japanese would just not surrender and they would fight till the very last man. But that's what I'll say about this is, like I said, it's just honestly, I hate it so much when people like brag about, oh, my country won World War II all on its own. Well, it was a team effort. Everybody was working together. And also the US sent a huge lend-lease to the Soviet Union with, thousands of trucks, hundreds of tanks, weapons, medical and food aid, which helped greatly. Even Nikita Khrushchev, the leader of the Soviet Union after Stalin, admitted that without Lend-Lease, the Soviet Union would have collapsed. But at the same time, the Soviets helped us tremendously against the Germans, and the Soviets also did help in the Manchuria offensive in August 1945. They invaded, Manchuria, which is northern China, and they helped push the Japanese out, which helped bring the war to an end even quicker. And about the atomic bombs, I know that I will have people asking me about the atomic bombs, and people are going to ask me in the comments section, Professional, do you think that the atomic bombs were necessary? Did the US really need to do that? What I'll say about that is, I'll say this. The Japanese were not going to surrender, like a lot of people thought that they were. A lot of people say the Japanese were on the verge of surrender. They had no plans to surrender. The Japanese were told several times to surrender before the atomic bombs, and they refused. They would not surrender. They didn't want to. And the US had told Japan that if they did not surrender, they face complete destruction. And they did not want to surrender. More people actually died in the firebombings of Japan, where firebombs were dropped on Japan because most of the buildings were made out of wood in Japan. So more people died in the firebombings than they did in the atomic bombs. Now, if America launched Operation Downfall, which would have been the invasion of mainland Japan, more people would have died. At least 1 million Americans probably would have died, and over millions of Japanese would have died in that, civilians and military as well. So, the atomic bombs did bring the war to an end. Now, were the atomic bombs necessary? I'm not saying that they were necessary, but I'm not saying that they weren't necessary either. It all depends on how you look at it. But it's that they did bring the war to an end quicker, and if there was no atomic bombings and we had to invade mainland Japan, a lot more people would have died. Way more people would have died in an invasion of Japan than from the atomic bombings. So the Japanese civilians were being trained to fight, and they were being ready for the American invasion. They thought that the American invasion was the next thing that was coming. And the thing about this is, when the first city was destroyed from the atomic bombs, the Japanese did not surrender. They didn't. They kept fighting. It wasn't until the second city got, completely destroyed, it was Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that at that point, the Emperor had ordered, a ceasefire, had ordered, cease resistance. And the Emperor did not say surrender in his speech. He said that we will cease, resistance or cease fighting. I think that's what he said. He didn't want to use that term surrender. But the reason the Emperor was never put on trial was because we needed the Emperor to restore order in Japan. And the Emperor was guilty of war crimes, but he was considered a god by the Japanese. And if we had executed him, it would have been endless civil war in Japan. And so that's why the Emperor was never, put on trial, never executed. Tojo was executed, which was the largest Japanese, war criminal besides the Emperor, the Shogun of Japan. He was executed. He was killed. But The guy who planned Pearl Harbor died in 1943, Admiral Yamamoto. He died, his plane was actually shot down in the Southeast Asian Pacific, I think. That's where he died. But yeah, like I said, without the atomic bombings, more people would have died. That's how it was. And the U.S. did drop flyers on Japan. When the U.S. was actually before the U.S. actually dropped the atomic bombs on Japan, they actually dropped flyers on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and they warned people that these cities will be destroyed in the next coming days. Like, they gave a list of cities that are going to be destroyed, and the note specifically said to the people that the United States is not at war with the Japanese people. We're at war with the Japanese government, the emperor, and the shogun. And the note told people, you flee, run from the city, leave now, because the city will be completely destroyed in the next couple days. But the Japanese government told people to stay. They told them not to flee. They told them it was just American propaganda. And look at what happened. The Japanese could have avoided a lot of this if they had surrendered earlier. So that's what I'll say. I'm not saying the atomic bombings were necessary or they weren't necessary, but I'm just saying they brought the war to an end quicker, and more people would have died from the invasion. And the Purple Heart medals that we use today for when soldiers are injured, those Purple Heart medals, the medals that we use today are even the ones that were produced for the invasion of Japan plan, because we expected to take so many casualties in the invasion of Japan. Civilians were even ordered to take bamboo sticks and charge at American soldiers. But yeah, I want to thank all the World War II veterans, all of them, from all countries, American, Soviet, British, Polish, Czechoslovakian, French, Italian resistance, it was Yugoslavian resistance, the Chinese, the Filipinos, the Koreans. It was all a team effort, and we are inspired and humbled by your sacrifice, Semper Fi. That's beautiful at the end. That's a Marine slogan. And here we're gonna have Nazi zombies, but I'll make a separate video on this. I just wanted to devote this part to to the ending of World at War and wrapping this up. But thank you guys for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this playthrough. If you did, do drop a like. Again, thank you to the guys who made the historical accuracy mods. I will have those linked down below. You guys did a great job with your mods. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.